Katya, maybe it's time for your brother to vacate our apartment. Anton asked his wife, looking at her clean, long hair. What's the matter? Her plump lips pouted capriciously. Katya. He has no one else in town except us. And renting an apartment is expensive. We tried to persuade your brother to live there until he finds a job. He's been there 7 months already, and he's still looking for a job. You know, we need money to build a new house. We wanted to sell the apartment your brother lives in for this purpose. I've already found a place for the house nearby, the Birch Grove. A river, nature, in a word. The windows will have such a view of the forest. Beautiful. And the children will be fine there. Anton, after living in the village, your birches and nature make me feel sick. I don't need a house. I don't want to, darling. This is not a village, this is a cottage community. All the amenities of the city. Living in nature in the city is a 10-minute drive away. And the apartment we live in now will remain at any time. You can spend the night in the city. Anton always has more fuss in his own house. After the village, I know that toiling in the garden every day until 12 o'clock. Yes, there is work around the house for the rest of the day. I don't need such happiness. Oh, come on, my kitty. I have already contacted a landscape designer. We will have a beautiful lawn and no vegetable gardens. And I will mow the lawn myself, writing it on the lawns of the village. But Katya looked at her husband with a look that did not tolerate objections. Anton, let's not sell the apartment where my brother lives, at least for now. Should he go back to the village? And you don't want to help him from work. And no one will hire him without experience. He has just started some kind of training. When I finish getting a job, we will talk about selling the apartment. My dear. Of course, I am not against helping your relatives, but your brother lives in my apartment with everything ready. He does not pay for utilities, and I cover all his expenses. Your brother is sitting on my neck and is in no hurry to climb. I understand that he is quite comfortable like this. And he is not going to change anything. And I see that you are also happy with it. And I will not hire him to work for me since business with relatives and friends does not work out. I have already been through this in my life. Anton, why are you so greedy? Your income is such that you can support my entire village without straining yourself. And you are getting married to help only my brother. He is tired of everything. I made a decision and will not change it. And my income shouldn't worry anyone. Or are you throwing Dima out yourself? Or am I throwing him out the door? Don't be angry. Anton, let him live a little longer. He is not sitting idly by, he is doing something. I am also idly by. I am not sitting idly by, working for you and our future children. I also once came to the city from the village, and no one could help me. I made my own way. I worked during the day, studied in the evening, and so I made it into life. So I'm not making my brother out to be an unfortunate person. He's just lazy. That's all. There's plenty of work. I'll hire him as the loader anywhere. Especially since he's a healthy guy. Katya jumped up from her chair and turned away from her husband, went into the bedroom, slamming the door. Anton was 15 years older than his wife. While he was studying and building his business, there was no time for marriage. But when he got back on his feet, he met this defenseless, fragile girl. She immediately struck him with her beauty and naivety. 2 months later, he asked her to marry him. She agreed. But after the wedding, Katya's not-so-simple character emerged. But Anton thought that this new life had taken over the girl's head. They would have children and motherhood would change Katya, and she would finally grow up. Anton decided that he and Katya needed a change of scenery. They would go with her to the sea for a vacation, especially since Anton hasn't been on holiday for a long time. The next day at work, Anton handed over his affairs to his deputy and stopped the travel agency to pick up the vouchers. He was already anticipating his wife's joy when she found out about the trip to the sea. When he got into the car and received a message on his phone, he froze while reading the message. His breath caught in his throat. Was this a joke? And who dares to joke with him like that? A photo appeared on the screen where Katya kissed her brother Dima. The kiss was not related. There was a caption below. He was not her brother at all. Anton chuckled. It was simply impossible to believe it. Then his sweet Katya would deceive him. Anton thought about it. On the other hand, he knew nothing about Katya's relatives except for his brother. She said that her grandmother raised her and her older brother. And how did God call her to heaven? They went to the city to arrange their lives. On the very first day in the city, they had a misunderstanding, if you can call it that. Some guys pestered Katya, and Dennis rushed to defend her and ended up at the police station. Katya stood in the street and cried. That's where Anton saw her for the first time. Anton decided to sort all this out. Arriving home, Katya met him in a great mood. Darling, I want to make you happy. I took a vacation, and we are flying away to the sea, just the two of us. Katya's voice changed strangely. Is there anyone else supposed to go with us? Anton was surprised. Did you get it wrong? Well, I just don't want to go anywhere, especially to the sea, where it will be hot. My head hurts from the heat. Katya was nervous for some reason. Okay, Anton shrugged. I haven't paid for the vouchers yet. I'll call and cancel. By the way, have you talked to Dima? No. Anton, well, give him a little more. Let him live. You rented out this apartment. By the way, I always rented this apartment, and it brought in extra income. And now your brother lives there. And this only brings me expenses. Katya looked angry at him. She grabbed her bag and ran out of the apartment, throwing it over her shoulder. I'll go for a walk. Anton saw through the window that, having left the entrance, she took out her phone and began to talk to someone. Anton decided to act on the nightstand. Her passport was lying there, where he found out the address of her previous registration in the village. The next morning he went there. It turned out that Katya had parents who were quite alive and well. Having heard about their daughter, they invited Anton into the house and started asking about Katya. She is fine, said Anton. And I came to look for a plot of land for a country house. So Katya advised me to come here. Our place is beautiful, said Katya's mother. Only her daughter always dreamed of leaving here forever. As soon as she finished school, she immediately ran away to the city. She didn't even say goodbye to us. Well, at least it's good that she settled down normally. My father and I are happy for her that this blockhead who is always confused has taken up his mind, he says. He has risen in life. He is engaged in a good cause. Are you talking about Dmitri? Anton clarified. Well, yes, about Dimka. The woman adjusted her headscarf. He was a slacker. What kind of slacker can you not find? While his grandmother was alive, she helped him as best she could. But when she died, everything became really bad. My husband and I were worried that our daughter would get lost with this blockhead. They have been friends since childhood. But no. He pulled himself together. He got a good job in an apartment. He and his daughter rent and even bring us presents. What am I talking about? Let me show you around here. Katya's mother suddenly realized. But Anton stopped her. I'll walk around and admire the local beauty myself. Everything became clear to Anton. While he was driving, his faithful husband was thinking about it. It turned out that it was not as simple as it had seemed before. Now he had to take security measures. The two-room apartment where he and Katya live was bought by him after their marriage. This means that Katya has the right to lay claim to it, and she will certainly start laying claim to it. Period. The one-room apartment where the brother supposedly lives was now bought before Katya, and people do not share it. The car was bought recently. This means that they will have to share it. He would withdraw the money from the bank upon arrival in the city and put it in the safe at work. They needed to take out a loan for the land plot. The loan would be shared between them. Let them pay. By the way, Anton was not going to talk yet. Let her remain in the dark. At home, he told Katya that he had to go on an urgent business trip. She was not even upset, as a loving wife should have been, but only shrugged her shoulders. Anton rented an apartment for himself and started to implement his plan. He returned home a week later, having fulfilled all his plans, and from the doorway, he told Katya that he was divorcing her. He had already filed the documents with the court. Wait for the summons. But he is moving out of the apartment tomorrow. And tell your brother to rush out of the apartment immediately, Anton. What happened? Were you lazy because of my brother? Okay, I'll tell him to vacate the apartment. Since you've worked yourself up so much, why are you divorcing me? Anton silently took out his phone and showed her a photo of her kissing Dima. Katya turned pale at first. Then her face flushed, and her eyes sparkled with anger just as great, proudly lifting her chin. She exclaimed, "Know everything. And that's good. Now I don't have to hide the fact that I love another person. But you won't be able to kick me out. All this also belongs to me. We will divide it." "We definitely will," Anton grinned. "As the court divides, so shall he get." Throwing the keys to the apartment at his feet, she said, "And you won't throw us out of that apartment before the trial. If you agree to leave it to me, then I won't make any claims. We'll live and see." Anton slammed the door behind her. In court, Katya made demands for half of all the property, but she couldn't claim most of the property. Anton had acquired all of this before marrying her. The bank accounts were empty. What was the big surprise for Katya? She had been counting on a tidy sum, and when it turned out that there were large joint loans that she would have to pay for, she completely lost her heart. She signed the settlement agreement without a word. What property disputes did she have against her ex-husband? After the trial, Anton felt a huge relief. The marriage now seemed like an absurd coincidence. In the future, Anton's life turned out well. A new employee appeared at work, with whom he immediately developed a warm relationship. Moreover, the girl was quite independent and had her good housing, an apartment. Soon they got married, and 5 years later they had 2 children, 2 charming girls.